Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpataruvesya kripa sindhuvya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yat kripa tamaham bande, Shri Guru Dinatarinam, Shri Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. What was that? Okay. Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you for our Srimad Bhagavatam class on Sunday morning. So we were discussing last class about Chitraketu Maharaj, how Chitraketu Maharaj criticized Lord Shiva with a very good intention. His intention was extremely good, but because it was in relation with Lord Shiva, and because Krishna was also involved in trying to help Chitraketu Maharaj get out of this material world, we would today see that what happened henceforward. After Chitraketu was stopped speaking, Lord Shiva, he was silent, but Mother Parvati started speaking these verses, which we will recite the first verse today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanang Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayang Mudiraye.
Tato Jayam Mudiraye.
Atha Papi Yashim Yonim
Atha Papayasim Yonim
Asurim Yahi Durmate
Asurim Yahidurmate
Yatheha Bhuya Mahatam
Yatheha Bhuya Mahata
Nakarta Putra Kilvisham.
Nakarta Putra Kilvisham.
Translation, purport, and by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O impudent one, my dear son, now take birth in a low, sinful family of demons, so that you will not commit such an offense again towards exalted, saintly persons in this world. Purport. One should be very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of Vaishnavas, of whom Lord Shiva is the best. While instructing Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava as Hati Mata, a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a nice garden, it spoils the entire garden. Similarly, if one becomes like a mad elephant and commits offenses at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, his entire spiritual career is halted. One should therefore be careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Mother Parvati was justified in punishing Chitraketu, for Chitraketu impudently criticized the Supreme Father Mahadev, who is the father of all living entities conditioned within this material world. The goddess Durga is called Mother and Lord Shiva is called Father. A pure Vaishnava should be very careful to engage in his specific duty without criticizing others. This is the safest position. Otherwise, if one tends to criticize others, he may commit the great offense of criticizing a Vaishnava. Because Chitraketu was undoubtedly a Vaishnava, he might have been surprised that Parvati had cursed him. Therefore, the goddess Parvati addressed him as Putra or son. Everyone is the son of Mother Durga, but she is not an ordinary mother. As soon as there is small discrepancy in a demon's behavior, Mother Durga immediately punishes the demon so that he may come to his senses. This is explained by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Daivi esa gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. To surrender to Krishna means to surrender to his devotees also. For no one can be a proper servant of Krishna unless he is a proper servant of a devotee. Chhadiya Vaishnav Seva Nistar Paiche Keva. Without serving a servant of Krishna, one cannot be elevated being a servant of Krishna himself. Therefore, Mother Parvati spoke to Chitraketu exactly like a mother who says to her naughty child, "My dear child, I am punishing you so that you won't do it again like this." This tendency of a mother to punish her child is found even in Mother Yasoda, who became the mother of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Yasoda punished Krishna by binding him and sewing him a stick. Thus, it is the duty of a mother to chastise her beloved son, even in the case of Supreme Lord. It is to be understood that Mother Durga was justified in punishing Chitraketu. This punishment was a boon to Chitraketu because after taking birth as a demon Vritrashur, he was promoted directly to Vaikuntha. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes elaborately, very, very precisely, that how Mother Parvati, though she is a Vaishnavi, and Chitraketu, he is a great Vaishnava, but Mother Parvati was in the mood of a mother. She was so concerned that Chitraketu Maharaj, as her beloved son, doesn't commit such an offense. We see in this world that whenever great souls do whatever they do, everything turns auspicious. We find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto that there were two huge trees that Krishna delivered. And Sukadeva Goswami wonderfully describes the history of these two trees to Parikshit Maharaj. Sukadeva Goswami says how one time when there was this Alakananda river in heavenly planets flowing at one place, very scenic and beautiful place, the sons of Nala Kuber and Manigriv, they were bathing and naked and something in a very, very sensuous way. And Narad Muni, he arrives at that place, and they pay no attention to Narad Muni. They just are completely obsessed in the feeling of how, in the feeling that uh, we are the enjoyer, we are the sons of Kuber. Who can do what to all of us? And Narad Muni saw that impudence, saw that pride in the heart of these two sons and cursed. They were bathing naked. They were sons of Kubera. Actually, Kuber is the richest person in the entire universe. These rich persons of today's world, whatever, they are like peons in front of Kuber. Their money is nothing like what is Kuber's money. Even the demigods, they sometimes don't look even rich persons in front of Kuber's richness and treasury. And Narad Muni cursed them to become trees. Just imagine, at one point of time you are enjoying and you are son of Kuber, and the next moment you are just trees, not able to speak anything, not able to move yourself anywhere. Just imagine how, what a situation. But because Narad Muni was involved in this entire affair of cursing, that is why Nal Kuber and Manigriv didn't just got delivered by Krishna in Vrindavan, but if you read the prayers after they get delivered by Krishna, so amazing. Recently we were in our spiritual sangha of our ISKCON Newtown. We have 6-member body of the leadership council. So we were discussing this pastime, and I was telling that Nalakuver and Manigriv, they were completely stooped in the most degraded form of sense gratification. And if you read the prayers that they are offering to Krishna after they get delivered by Krishna, those prayers are like the purest of the prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the prayer that Nalakuber Manigriv offer, I think it's the last prayer. Many of our acharyas, not just in our sampradaya, many of the acharyas in all different sampradayas, they recite this prayer as an aspiration for their life. Vani gunanu kathane shravano kathayam hastau chakarma sumanas tabapadayorno smrityas tava nivasa jagat praname drishti satam bhavat tanuna. So in this prayer, they describe how we just want now to see your form through our eyes. We just want to serve you and your devotees through our hands. We just want to hear, we just want to speak about you. Such a transformation of desires and aspirations by Nal Kuber Manigriv just by the curse of Narad Muni. There is no instance that Nalakuber and Manigriv attended some classes and they were chanting and doing sadhana of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There is no instance that Nalakuber and Manigriv were getting up early in the morning, taking bath and putting tilak, and there is no instance like that. There is only one thing that made Nalakuber Manigriv become such pure devotee. The curse of Narad Muni. Just imagine. I feel sometimes that why Narad Muni doesn't curse me. So nice, right? We have to chant 16 rounds and do so much, and still sometimes our aspirations are so horrible, our desires are so horrible, and just here a Nalakuber Manigriv and dancing naked and bathing naked with all naked ladies in Alakananda Ganga in heavenly planets, and so proud, so arrogant. And Narad Muni just curses. They have no instance of doing any sadhana, attending any Bhagavatam class or anything. And here they are, pure devotees. That's the power of associating with a pure Vaishnava. That's how auspicious it is to get the association of Vaishnava in any form. Sometimes our spiritual masters and all, they are unhappy with us. And sometimes they are happy with us. But we must understand that when great souls are happy or great souls are unhappy, the end result will always be auspicious in the life of a person. We should not act in a way that displeases our spiritual master. But because of our conditionings, because of our strong material desires for sense gratification, sometimes we may act in a way that may displease great souls. Like Chitraketu Maharaj. He had a tinge of pride in his heart and he acted in a way that really displeased Mother Parvati. But because it was Mother Parvati and it was in relation with Lord Shiva, such a complete auspicious transformation. Yes. So sometimes when we are corrected by Vaishnavas, by great souls, by superiors, we feel so bad. Oh, why did he do like this to me? Sometimes even the disciple feels so bad that why my spiritual master is just correcting me. But we must understand, if we take the feedbacks and corrections of the spiritual master and the great souls in a way that we will discuss today ahead, the way Chitraketu responded, we can access the entire auspiciousness stored within those corrections and criticism and curse. Sometimes great souls may correct us. Sometimes great souls may criticize us for our behavior, and sometimes they even go to an extent of cursing us. But because it is done by a great soul, Krishna will make it auspicious, provided we learn to respond as Chitraketu Maharaj responded. sometimes even may not be a great soul. Here, Mother Parvati is a great soul. She is the mother of the entire universe. And she is cursing, and such a wonderful effect will happen to Chitraketu. And we also saw the example of Narad Muni, who is a great soul, cursing Nalakubera and Manigriva, and such a great transformation is happening. But sometimes a normal living entity may do a curse, but still, if we respond properly, learn to respond properly, we can create auspiciousness. Whether great souls curse us, criticize us, correct us, or normal soul curse us, criticize us, correct us. If we learn to respond properly, we can access the all auspiciousness, mercy of Krishna in that situation. For example, Shringi. Shringi was not a great soul. Shringi was the son of Samik Rishi and was a small child. He was playing, and in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the story comes how Shringi becomes disproportionately so angry. He became so angry that he cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die, just for a simple little offense to his father. Our acharyas, they say that Shringi represents the beginning of the fall down of all the Brahmanas and Brahminical culture in the Kali Yuga. Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are supposed to be compassionate. And Shringi cursed in such horrible way to Parikshit Maharaj. But because Parikshit Maharaj responded appropriately, what was born out of that situation was Srimad Bhagavatam. Just imagine. It's not necessary who is dealing with us. It is not necessary how someone is dealing with us, positively or negatively. It is how we respond to that situation that will determine what effect that it will create in my life. That means the entire auspiciousness is in my hand. I have the entire key to create auspiciousness in my life. No one can do any inauspicious thing in my life, provided I just learn to respond appropriately. No one can do anything. Shringi cursed Parikshit, but it created auspiciousness. Not because Shringi cursed, not because it was a curse, but because Parikshit responded appropriately. Mother Parvati cursed Chitraketu, and it created auspiciousness, not because Mother Parvati cursed, but because Chitraketu responded appropriately. Similarly, we see Urvasi cursing Arjuna. That comes in Mahabharata. When Arjuna goes to heavenly planets to get a lot of weapons and power from all the demigods before the war begins, the Mahabharata begins, Arjuna is so handsome, so beautiful, that Urvasi gets attracted to Arjuna. And Urvasi gives an open proposal to Arjuna to enjoy. Mind you, this is Urvasi. This is not an ordinary girl. It's the most beautiful girl in the entire universe, Urvasi. Born directly from Naranarayan Rishi as a gift to Indra, so that Indra can see her dancing always and he can be happy. His all desires can be satisfied. That was Urvasi. So beautiful, born directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead to, to enchant the hearts of all demigods. And this Urvasi proposed to enjoy with Arjuna. And Arjuna addressed Urvasi as mother. Just imagine. Arjuna was young, Urvasi was really young and beautiful. And Arjuna said, Mother, I see you in connection with our ancestor Pururava. That pastime we will see sometimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, how Pururava was also enchanted by Urvasi and both were enjoying as husband and wife. And Pururava is actually ancestor of the Pandavas. And Arjuna saw Urvasi as great mother. And Urvasi said, in heavenly planets, no one is mother, no one is father. It's just a place of enjoyment. Just imagine. Let's enjoy, let's have fun. And Arjuna paid Dandavat to Urvasi. Oh, my dear mother, please forgive me. I can only see you as my mother. Urvasi gets so affected. No one in the entire universe had rejected Urvasi like this. No man had the self-control and audacity to reject Urvasi's proposal. Not even great demigods. And that Urvasi is giving all reasons that in demigod lokas this is all possible, and we ladies never lose our virginity, and all those discussions comes in Mahabharata. And Arjuna says, my dear mother, you are my mother, I pay Dandavat obeisances to you. And with all these things, Urvasi curses Arjuna. Says, you are not a man. How can you reject the proposal by such a beautiful lady like me? I curse you that you become a eunuch. And Arjuna says, so be it, my mother. And because of the curse of Urvasi, Arjuna became a eunuch, a transgender, for 1 year. But what auspiciousness it created in the life of Arjuna, that he was able to hide his identity, became the teacher of Uttara, the daughter of Viratnares, with the name as Brihanalla, right? And interestingly, the story goes ahead that when 1 year of incognito gets over, and then it's detected that Brihanalla is not Brihanalla, it's Arjuna, Viratnares develops a great desire in his heart that, who is Arjuna? Let my daughter Uttara get married to Arjuna. And you know what Arjuna replies? Arjuna says, Ki, I have considered your daughter as my student. And a teacher is million times, a teacher or a guru is million times greater than a father. There is no way I can accept Uttara as my wife. If you feel it is appropriate, you can consider my son Abhimanyu as her husband. And that's how Abhimanyu gets married to Uttara and Parikshit Maharaj is born. The most auspicious personality in Srimad Bhagavatam, who created whose response, appropriate response, created the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, was born from the appropriate response of Arjuna in his relationship with Urvasi and in his relationship with Uttara. So it's not necessary what circumstances we have been put in. But if we are ready to maintain the integrity of our life and ready to respond appropriately based on the scriptures, we can create the same auspiciousness not in just our lives, but in the entire universe. Because Arjuna responded appropriately with Urvasi, because Arjuna responded appropriately with Uttara, Parikshit was born. And because Parikshit responded appropriately with the curse of Sringi, Srimad Bhagavatam was born. Situations can be same. External situations do not actually determine the way ahead in our life. What course of action we'll have. It is actually our response. We may get diseased. We may get financial crisis. We may get emotional crisis. Our relatives may completely reject us. Our body may reject us. Our near and dear ones, those who love us, they reject us. We may be facing any situation in our life, but those situations are really not auspicious or inauspicious per se. Our response to that situation creates auspiciousness and inauspiciousness. Every situation has the power to create the supreme auspiciousness in our lives and also has the power to create the supreme inauspiciousness in our lives. We see people get depressed because of financial crisis, because of some crisis. And they drink, they smoke, they do all horrible things and go to hell. And we see here Chitraketu facing a crisis. This is not a simple financial crisis. This is not an emotional crisis. At one time, Chitraketu has a beautiful body of a Vidyadhara, and the next moment, Chitraketu has a body like Vritrasura, whose eyes are like copper. We have described Vritrasura very elaborately. This is what happened. Srimad Bhagavatam begins and continues to teach us how to respond appropriately in every situation to create the supreme auspiciousness in our life. Whether it is Parikshit, whether it is Daksha Karshing Narada, which we will describe later on, whether it is Arjuna and the Pandavas facing difficult times, whether it is Prahlad facing terrible times because of his father, all the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam, just the essence of it is to teach us how to respond in every situation to create the supreme auspiciousness in our life. The situations are same. If we study the situation that Chitraketu Maharaj faced, I don't think any one of us would ever face such a situation. And how did he respond is what we are going to see the next shloka. Hare Krishna. This is Sukha Uvacha, and Sukadev Goswami speaking about the response of Chitraketu as soon as he heard the curse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Saptas Chitraketu Bimanad Avaruhyasa Prasadayam Asa Satim Murdhva Namrena Bharata. Yes. Sri Shukadev Goswami continued, my dear Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility and pleased her completely. And then the next verse. Sorry. Chitraketuruvacha Pratigrinhami te sapam Atmano Anjalanbike Dever Martyaya Yat Proktam Purvam Dishtam Hitasyatat. Someone else want to recite some Matajis? Chitraketu Ruvacha. Someone else please recite. Someone else. Some Mataji. Chitraketu Ruvacha.
Chitraketu Ruvacha.
One Mataji. Pratigrinami te sapam. Recite Hare Krishna.
Pratigrinami te sapam.
Atmano Anjalinambike.
Atmano Anjalinambike.
Dever Martyaya Yat Proktam.
Devair Matyaya Yat Proktam.
Purvadishtam Hitasyatat.
Purvadishtam Hitasyatat.
Chitraketu said, my dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for the happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. Chitraketu accepted the curse gratefully. This is the first, and with humility. This is the first immediate response that is appropriate for a Vaishnava to create auspiciousness in his or her life. To accept every situation gratefully. To accept every situation with gratitude, with humility, that this is the mercy of Krishna. My dear mother, you have given me supreme mercy by cursing me. Hare Krishna. There is no possibility of ever thinking that this is inauspicious for me. This is auspicious. I accept it wholeheartedly with gratitude. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If we can thank Krishna in every situation of our life, be it reverses, be it prosperities, we actually can attract the supreme auspiciousness. Is the first thing. And it's not just it's not just a mental adjustment. Srimad Bhagavatam, through different stories, are explaining to us that it's not a mental adjustment to accept every situation as mercy of Krishna gratefully. It's actually a fact. It's actually a fact. We see we are put in different situations, and Chitraketu Maharaj, Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur, is going to explain in the commentary of this verse that Chitraketu Maharaj says ki, Mother, I was not at fault, neither you are at fault. Sometimes some situations can happen to us, but we may not be at fault. We may not be at all the fault, and still some situation can come to our lives. Like I was talking with a devotee yesterday, and he was telling that some situations happened in his life yesterday, and it was like he was not at all fault. There was no fault in his part, but the situation became so tense, and he was trying to explain that how he is not at fault, and then his explanations were completely unheard. So like that. So Chitraketu Maharaj didn't give any explanation. Sometimes we sometimes get so obsessed in giving explanations about how we are right that we forget to remember Krishna at every situation, in that situation. Our ahankar pushes us to explain how I'm right. It's necessary to clarify, but to a certain extent. But the first response is, I accept it gratefully, O my Lord. And after that, we may clarify. Chitraketu Maharaj accepted the situation wholeheartedly as mercy of Krishna, as mercy of Mother Parvati. And he said that you are not the cause, I am not the cause. Sometimes we may face certain situations in which we have not done anything wrong, but we have to suffer. And the reason can be manifold. There can be various reasons for our suffering. We may not necessarily suffer because of our own karma. Pandavas had no karma, they were suffering. They were pure devotees. They had no karma at all, they were suffering. Sanatan Goswami had no karma, but he got such a disease that such pus was coming out throughout his body. He had no karma at all. He is Manchari of spiritual world. And sometimes when we get disease, we get so, oh, what can be done? Oh my Lord, oh, this and that, and we get so depressed. We must understand that it may be our karma or may not be our karma. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it's very difficult to ascertain. Chitraketu Maharaj says it's very difficult to ascertain the reason of tribulations in our life. But the ultimate reason, sometimes it may be due to our own karma, sometimes it may be due to our immediate actions, sometimes it may be due to envious persons that they are around us, or sometimes it may be like Krishna wanting to give us tribulations to glorify us like the Pandavas. Whatever may be the reason, Chitraketu Maharaj and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the real and ultimate reason for all of us being put in this situation is this verse that he speaks. Yes, anyone else who has not recited till now? Someone who has not recited, please recite. Guna pravaha etasmin.
Guna pravaha etasmin.
Kasapa konu anugraha.
Kasapa konu anugraha.
Ka swarga narakova.
Ka swarga narakova.
Kim sukham dukkham evava.
Kim sukham dukkham evava.
My dear mother, this material world, imagine Chitraketu is telling to the designer of the material world, Parvati, about the material world. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river, Guna Pravaha. Therefore, what is the curse and what is the favor? What are heavenly planets? What are hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves are flowing constantly, none of them has eternal effect. Now here he gives an example to illustrate the workings of the material world. Imagine someone of us, like imagine Sri Nitai Das, is thrown into a strong current of Ganga near Rishikesh or Devprayag. And Sri Nitai Das doesn't know swimming. And while Sri Nitai Das is flowing, someone comes to Sri Nitai Das and says, which dish you like to eat? I know that you love to eat rasgullas and rasmalais. Please take the rasmalai. What is the value of rasmalai? Even if you love rasmalai the most, when you are flowing in the heavy current of Ganga, no value. And imagine Sri Nitai Das is flowing and Bijay is also flowing. And Swati, out of her so much of love to Bijay, offers a rasmalai to Bijay while he is flowing, and she looks at me, Sri Nitai Das, and says, because you corrected me in previous time, I will not give you the rasmalai to you. I will only give to my husband. What is the value of Swati not giving rasmalai to Sri Nitai Das when Sri Nitai Das is flowing and Swati is flowing and Vijay is flowing, everyone is flowing? So the happiness and distress of this world is compared to giving a rasgulla and getting a rasmalai, while we are constantly flowing. It has no permanent value. And what if someone comes while every one of us is flowing, another person is flowing and telling, Sri Nitai Das, you are number one rock. You are the most sinful person in this entire creation. And speaks such abusive words to Sri Nitai Das, and he's flowing and I am flowing. And Sri Nitai Das even doesn't have time to even put his ears to the criticism, correct? Imagine you are flowing and another person is flowing and starts criticizing you, abusing you with all abusive words. Are you going to pay any attention to his words? Imagine another person is flowing and giving you, oh, I want to become your, I propose you, I love you, I want to become your wife. Please accept this wonderful rose. That was also flowing in the Ganga. She picks up the rose and gives it. Oh, Pichai, take this rose. Vijay says, I don't know, we are going to die and you are sowing this rose? What nonsense is this? Get lost. That's the situation of all of us in this world. We are flowing and flowing and flowing, and there is the waterfall of death waiting for all of us. And these apparent happiness and distress offered by apparent material appreciation and material criticisms and material things that we get financially, financial upliftment, and all those things, it's just like, someone, imagine you are flowing in the river and another person is flowing and another person gives you, so you have seen nowadays when you go in highways, there is a meter, there is a LED and it directly shows what is your speed of the car. I have seen here in Calcutta, in Biswa Bangla Sarani, it's there. Like if we are going and then there is, you pass that post and it shows 80 km/h, reduce, and it's red. And I have seen personally that it's so exact. If it is 80 there and it's almost 70, 75 here in my speedometer in the car. So imagine you are flowing and another person is flowing and he is showing you this type of LED and where it is written, you are great, you are flowing nicely, What use is it? Any use of that appreciation? So all these corporate awards, all these great appreciation, appraisals and the promotions in this material life are all like promotion by a flowing person to another flowing person, it really has no value. The person will be dead and gone, waiting for the waterfall to arrive, the waterfall of death. And the person who is being appreciated, he will also be dead and gone. The rose that the Romeo gives to the Juliet, or I don't know what is, Romeo is male or Juliet is, I think Romeo is male. So the rose that, I'm very, very naive in these subject matters. So the rose that Romeo gives to Juliet, the rose is flowing, Romeo is flowing, Juliet is flowing. And the person who appreciates Romeo and Juliet by writing poetries after poetries, he is also flowing. And none of them are ever thinking how to stop this flow towards inevitable death in life. The husband is not thinking. The wife is not thinking. Husband and wife, they are not thinking for their children. Then it is just foolishness. Chitraketu Maharaj is telling ki ka sapaka, what curse, what is benediction? We are all simply flowing towards death. The real benediction and blessing is to help oneself and to help others in catching the boat of Krishna consciousness, Krishna's lotus feet. Samashrita yadapada pallabhaplabam mahatpadam punyamasho murare bhavambudhim bascha padam param padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. Brahmaji, while describing this flowing river of the material world in his prayers to Krishna in the 10th canto, is telling this verse, Samashrita, Sukadeva Goswami is telling this verse, Samashrita yad pada pallava plavam. Please take shelter, oh dear devotees, oh dear readers of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is telling, please take shelter. Pada pallava plavam, the lotus feet, which is also apparently flowing. You see, the boat is also flowing. And a person is also flowing without a boat. But there is difference to be flowing inside the boat. And there is difference to flow in the ocean or in the river. Yes? Samashita yad pada pallava plavam mahat padam punyam yasho murare. Please take shelter of the lotus feet of the Murari. Bhavam Buddhim, this entire material world, the ocean of the material world, the flowing river and the current of the material world will be reduced Vatsapadam to simply the water accumulated within Vatsa, calf hoof print. Calf's hoof print. Small, like in any season, calf makes a print and then water gets accumulated. That is how much it is. Padam padam yad pipadam nadesha. There is danger at every step in this material world. This is the real duty of each one of us while flowing in the river of material world. The second way to respond appropriately is to understand the reality of the material world and to accept the help of Krishna in life and help others to ride the boat of Krishna's lotus feet. And while traveling in the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, you can offer flower to your husband and wife, you can offer rasgulla and rasmalai. And that's how we see Vaishnavas do everything. Vaishnavas get married, Vaishnavas study, Vaishnavas have celebrations, but everything centered around Krishna by first catching the lotus feet of Krishna and first getting into the boat of Krishna consciousness. There is no problem in offering rasmalai. There is no problem in sweet, loving reciprocations of husband and wife, provided we know the ultimate purpose of human form of life is to get out of this flowing river of material world. So first is to be gratefully accepting the situation. Second is to be thoughtfully understanding the nature of the material world. And the third way is to be causelessly compassionate to others, to help them put more and more people in the boat of Krishna consciousness. First, we need to be gratefully accepting the situations, that this is mercy of Krishna. And second, we have to understand very thoughtfully that no matter whatever we do, the material world is going to give only distress and disturbances. Pandavas got distressed, they didn't have any karma in their life. Who is Sri Nitai Das and who are all of us? To thoughtfully understand that we are simply flowing in this material world to death. There is no point to get disturbed by some criticism, no point to get unnecessarily elated by some appraisals and appreciations. Just be thoughtful in understanding the flowing nature of the material world. And in the last, to be causelessly merciful in extending our hand and helping others to catch the boat of Krishna. To first ourselves catch the boat of Krishna thoughtfully and causelessly be merciful to others. To help others to enter this boat of Krishna consciousness so that we can be saved from this waterfall of death and we can ultimately go back to Godhead. Mother Parvati cursed Chitraketu, but it is Chitraketu who responded it appropriately and accepted it as mercy, thoughtfully understood the nature of the material world, and showed the right example of a Vaishnava. And that's why he was ultimately promoted. Though he was born as Vritrasur, the curse did have the effect. But his only gross body changed. His consciousness actually improved. What his consciousness was in the form of Chitraketu, it only improved by becoming Vritrasur, by the power of the curse of Parvati and by the power of his responding appropriately to the curse. It was only an external change in the life of Chitraketu to become Dhritarashtra. So sometimes we may go through adverse situation, and externally, imagine we go through a financial crisis, and externally we were living in a bungalow, we may come to a 1 BHK flat. But if we learn to appropriately respond to that situation, our Chetana will improve. And that 1 BHK flat will become Sri Vrindavan Dham. So this is the essence of the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. With all case studies of pure Vaishnavas who faced terrible crisis in their life and teaching us how to respond appropriately in such crisis, to create Vrindavan in our life, in our home, and in our heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय, श्री चित्रकेतु महाराज की जय, महादेव की जय, हर हर महादेव, पार्वती देवी की जय, वृत्रासुर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Yes, are there any questions? Yes, Madhur Kohli Prabhu and then Udit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandan Pranam. Really enjoyed the session. Prabhuji, before I question, I see that Asit Prabhu has joined us back after some time.
Yes.
We are really missing him in Bangalore.
So yes, Asit Prabhu has joined.
I offer my gratitude to you for your prayer for my new life.
Asit Prabhu has been blessed by completely new lives, the second chance. We are really, really grateful to Krishna for helping us, for allowing us to take his association in the second time nicely. And it was really, really critical. The doctors were really, really telling the first day itself, it was the doctors were really tensed us, and it was really a tense situation because the snake is really poisonous and there is very, very dangerous effects. So by the mercy and the prayers of all the devotees and by the causeless mercy of Krishna, in order to allow Asit Prabhu to continue his devotional service and continue inspiring us, Krishna blessed him with a completely new second chance. So let's pray to Shri Radharaman that he uses this second chance very, very appropriately and in service of Shri Radharaman. And we learn that how we should appropriately respond. Ashit Prabhu was constantly remembering Krishna. He was seeing dreams of both snake and Sri Nitai Das, he was telling me. So, and he was telling that I was seeing dreams of snakes and Sri Nitai Das both. I said, good. I don't know whether he saw Krishna or not. But by the mercy of Krishna, he saved. Hare Krishna. Yes, Madhur Prabhu, sorry, I interrupted.
Prabhuji, Krishna has asked us only to surrender and assure that he will take care.
Yes.
Prabhuji, we may acquire the theoretical knowledge that we are soul and not a body, and pleasure and pleasure only due to the false ego. But still we are very much controlled by material energy and we are in regular touch with it, and it is very difficult to control our mind, which is not also visible to us. And yesterday's class you said that the only option with us is, duty, desire and destruction. There is no fourth option. We can only at best follow our duty. So this only theoretical knowledge is sufficient. In Kali Yuga, we are not allowed to do lot of things as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad. I mean, how to make progress towards liberation?
Yeah, correct. So that is why scriptures actually train us to use our material and pain, material pleasure, and to utilize it in Krishna conscious spiritual way. That's the first step from becoming material to spiritual. The pleasure that one derives in family is material. The scriptures don't tell give up family, because ultimately you have to give up your family to go back to Godhead. But the scriptures tell take the first step of spiritualizing your family. The pain one derives being completely diseased physically is a material pain. It has nothing in relation to the soul. But the scriptures advise take shelter of Krishna. Ausadhet chintayet Vishnu. Take the medicine, but remember Krishna while taking the medicine. So, first step in becoming fully spiritual above the pain and pleasure is to spiritualize material pain and pleasure by connecting it with Krishna. And we should understand that if we take the first step, Krishna will show to us the second step in our life. The first step is definitely whatever pain I am suffering, let me spiritualize it, connect it to Krishna, take more shelter of Krishna when I am in painful situation, and when I am having some pleasure, connect it to Krishna and consider this as mercy of Krishna. Krishna has put me in this situation so that I can do nice more bhakti. We are affected by the pain and pleasure, but we are spiritually transforming it. This is the first step. And the second step, after we have successfully connected everything, is to disconnect ourselves from the situations and connect to Krishna, at least practice for some period of time in a day or in a month or in a year. Like in a day, we get opportunity to disconnect from all the things while chanting Hare Krishna. So while we are chanting Hare Krishna, it is the second step. It's a practice of getting disconnected from all material identities, pains, and pleasures for at least 2 hours in a day. For that matter, we may have to switch off our mobiles. We may have to go to a place where no one is around, filled with pictures of Krishna. That's the second step. It's a practice, at least 2 hours. Similarly, we have once in a week Katha, where we are sitting and we are completely absorbed. We are switched on our videos and we are making notes. We are fully absorbed, fully there. And that's why we are advised that once in a year you come for yatra so that you forget all your material identities. Like someone said, Prabhuji, I don't know whether my family members will come for the yatra, and said, I said that you fall at the feet of your family members and say that I give my 360 days to you. I will be fully dedicated servant at your lotus feet for the 360 days. Give me the gift of 5 days of yatra where I want to forget my material identity and live in the identity of spirit soul. That's required. If we cannot live in the identity of spirit soul 5 days in a year, how can we think that we can live the spiritual identity eternally? If we cannot give up our mobile for 2 hours in a day, how we can think of giving up our mobile throughout? No mobile in spiritual world. If Lalita Devi asked you to make a mala, she will give you directions of every position of every petal of a flower. To that extent, the service in spiritual world is precise, and you can understand and imagine the absorption required. Every single petal have to be in a particular way based on the directions of Krishna and Lalita Devi. That's what absorption is required. And your mobile is ringing and the petals are not in the right shape. And when Lalita Devi becomes angry, Hare Krishna, Lord Shiva's anger is just an insignificant, fragmental, infinitesimal particle in front of the anger of Lalita Devi if you do not do the service to Radharani properly. Never ever desire to see that. So if we cannot even think of 5 days in a year giving up our identity that, I am not husband of someone, wife of someone, I am just a spirit soul right now sheltered at the lotus feet of my Gurudev, who is going to take me to spiritual world. If we cannot do for 5 days, if we cannot do for 2 hours, if we cannot do 1 hour in a week, we are not doing the second step. The second step is the practice, the step of practice. Okay, I cannot practically live throughout. Let me try practically living for a small period of time. And when Krishna sees that endeavor from our side, Krishna will bless us with that consciousness. And Krishna will tell Durga Devi, release Madhur Kohli from the Guna Pravaha. Release Madhur Kohli from the modes of duty, desire and destruction. Sattva Guna, Rajaguna and Tamaguna. Release him. And when Krishna says, Durga Devi actually releases immediately the living entity. Tomar ichhaye maya srujati karagar. Bhakti Vinod Thakur prays. It is only by the desire of Krishna that Durga Devi designs this jail. And just by a simple desire of Krishna, Durga Devi removes us from the jail and puts us in spiritual world. When the living entity comes out of the material world, he first takes bath in the Biraja river. First he has to get release. And when he gets released, he takes bath in the causal ocean, the Biraja river. Biraja, Bigata Raja, Bigata passion. And as soon as the living entity takes bath in the Viraja river, all the whatever things he had accumulated and whatever is remaining gets completely washed off. And then he gets fit to enter the spiritual world. A living entity, when he leaves this material universe, first goes through the Viraja river, where he completely gets washed off of all this guna pravaha, and to enter the spiritual world, the world of mirth, happiness, katha, ganam, where every katha is just a song, natyam gamanam, where every gamana, every walk is a dance, bamsi priya sakhi, where the flute of Krishna and the sound of the flute of Krishna is the beautiful melody. Toyam Amritam, where water is like a nectar. And time has no value. It is only an ornament. Where the ladies do not have to worry, oh, after 10 years, my hair is going to become white. The ladies only become beautiful, more beautiful, and most beautiful in spiritual world. And men become more handsome, and most handsome in spiritual world. Happiness only increases, and increases. So, are you ready? If you are ready, then detach yourself at least for 2 hours a day, at least for 5 to 6 days in a year, at least for 1 hour in a week. And such a simple, insignificant austerity compared to what result we will get, yes? We understand the austerity of getting into IIT. Full absorption for 2 years. Not just 2 years, nowadays students start practicing from 6th class. And I have met parents who want their standard 1 children to get into IIT. So we can understand that the achievement, the fulfillment that we're going to achieve when entering the spiritual world and the austerity involved in it is very insignificant. But still we need to do it. Hare Krishna. Yes, Udit Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji,
Yes.
thanks for wonderful class. So my question is that the examples you gave, one of Narada Muni, Parvati Devi, they were all great Vaishnavas. So and also Arjuna considered the Apsara in the form of a mother. But sometimes we encounter people we don't know them personally. How can we respond to such situation, Prabhu? Because I also want to understand that they should also not take our way of humbly accepting whatever they are saying as an act of weakness. So, from that point of view, how should we act?
Yeah. So, humility does not empower others to exploit us. Humility is not an empowerment and not a permission given to the other person to exploit us. That's not the meaning of humility. Humility is actually empowering ourselves to access Krishna's direction in our life, to respond appropriately in every situation. Arjuna was humble in killing Karna in a completely wrong way. Can you imagine? Breaking the codes of warfare, killing Karna, and it's an act of humility because it was directed by Krishna. So humility just empowers us to access Krishna's directions, to access Guru's directions and consultation. Arjuna wanted, actually, it was arrogance for Arjuna to behave humbly externally. Yes? In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was behaving in a humble way. Oh Krishna, no, how can I kill? And this and that. And one may, actually, moralist may say, just see. And actually, they condemn Krishna. Just see, Arjuna was in right mood. Such a nice mood he was. Such a spiritual mood. And you see this Krishna nonsense. He made him to do all these immoral activities in the war field. So Arjuna not fighting out of humility is considered spiritual arrogance. And Arjuna fighting in the war field and killing Karna, killing Jayadratha, killing Bhisma, using, how Bhisma got killed by keeping Srikhandi, and it's like, for a normal person to hear the story, looks like Krishna telling, bring Srikhandi and put him in, and Jayadratha and all these stories. It was Arjuna's humility to accept. So real humility is to access Krishna's directions and to stop being directed by our own intelligence and by the intelligence of the social customs of today's world. Srila Prabhupada, another example. When there was a temple opening in one place, so it is actually like this, that the temple has to be made after the deities are made. But devotees in the beginning, they were so immature and they were not knowing what's a temple, they were not knowing Krishna, they just wanted to please Srila Prabhupada. So in one of the temple, they made the temple first, they made the temple first, and then they designed and they made the deity. And somehow, and the date was decided for the installation and everything. And when they were trying to insert, take Krishna inside the altar, Krishna was not going. Krishna was not fitting because the altar was small and Krishna was tall. And all the reporters had been invited, and you understanding, all the news coverage has been done, and a lot of people had come. And they were trying to put Krishna inside, and Krishna was not going inside Krishna because the altar was small. And it was such a situation, and Srila Prabhupada was standing. And he became so angry, like wild, red, hot anger, started shouting. And some devotees some people who are new people would tell, Swamiji, what type of saint is this? Swamiji is becoming angry like this, shouting, this is not Swami. Swami have to be a big beard and is Santi in all situations. He has to be equipoised. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. And this Swami is shouting to all his disciples, to everyone, what nonsense you made. And then one person from the public came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And Srila Prabhupada took the mala, which he was giving to Srila Prabhupada, and went inside. Though he didn't chanted Hare Krishna, but he went to his room and sat on the bed, and with his legs doing like this, like a small child, started chanting Hare Krishna and laughing and smiling, seeing the immaturity of his foreign disciples. So we see that Srila Prabhupada becoming angry like this is actually he's humble, because he's saying that how you would feel if we try to pressurize you to enter a house which is not fitting and you cannot stand, and it's like if you stand up, then sometimes in Puri, Jagannath Puri, the government introduced at one point of time, I don't know now the buses, but small mini buses, not like Calcutta mini bus, but the Puri mini bus. If I stand, boom, it just hits the top. And you cannot stand, and you have to be very careful while entering. You have to be very careful when you get up from the seat. And these are town buses in Puri. Now I don't know whether I've replaced it or not, but because when I was a child, I used to use it very nicely. But suddenly, when in teenage, my height increased to 5'9", and then When I was entering, dhum, and when I was getting up, dhum. And it's so uncomfortable. And Srila Prabhu was thinking like that how Krishna would be we are squeezing him into an altar which doesn't fit his size. And he was shouting. So humility is not an empowerment to others to exploit us. It's an empowerment, self-empowerment to access Krishna's directions in our life. To shut our intelligence. Consult Guru and Krishna. That did I respond properly or how should I respond in this situation? That's a self-empowerment. And sometimes, if it is appropriate, we may need to use weapons and even go to the extent of killing, like Arjuna did, out of humility. And sometimes, it may be required to just accept the curse, like Chitraketu accepted, Parikshit accepted. Now, how do we ensure? The next question is, how do we ensure that we are in always touch with Krishna? Sometimes Guru may not be available. So the same question was asked to my Gurudev by one disciple. That Maharaj, you may not be available all the times. How do I know that whatever I am doing is according to the directions of Krishna and you? Maharaj said, when I am there, if you are taking my consultation, then Krishna will replace my absence from within your own heart. But when I am there, if you are not taking my consultation, then Paramatma will be so obsessed with, so obsessively angry with you that he will never direct you when I am absent. So, if we are taking guidance from Guru and Krishna, for that matter, it requires humility. That's an empowerment to us to behave appropriately. And that behavior of appropriately can be like Chitraketu, and that appropriate behavior can be like Arjuna. And that appropriate behavior can be like Bhima, ripping apart Jarasandha and putting it like this, so that Jarasandha doesn't become one again. Hare Krishna. You can even rip apart someone out of humility. Hare Krishna. When we are accessing Krishna's grace. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Sabyasachi Prabhu.
Thanks, Prabhu. The question from my side will be, we all are flowing in this material pool, you can say material current. So what is the ideal way to live in this current? Either to go with the flow, or go against the flow, or be in the flow like a lotus pig as described in Bhagavad Gita.
So we are flowing in this current, and Prabhuji is asking whether we should go with the flow. Definitely going with the flow is definitely not appropriate according to the scriptures. As Vaishnavas, we cannot behave like ordinary materialistic people. Vaishnavas look as if they are going like in the flow. Outside people come and see Vaishnavas, they're getting married, they're doing job, they're doing everything, and they may look. And definitely we should not go against the flow. That is like declaring war against material energy. No one. The Gyanis, the impersonalist, they try to go against the flow. The Karmis, they go with the flow. But as Bhaktas, We sit on the lotus feet of Krishna. We go with the flow, but with Krishna. We do job, keeping Krishna in the center. Understanding that this job and its fruits and everything is for service of Krishna. Whatever things we have in our life, it's just for service to Krishna. Manasa deho geho jo kichu more. Or pilu tua pade nanda kishore. In this beautiful song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes every situation. First, he says that whatever material things, O my Lord, I have, I offer it at your lotus feet. Sampade, bipade, jivane, marane, dai mama gelo tua opada varane. Whatever mental happiness due to prosperity and mental distress due to adversities I have, it is at your lotus feet, O my Lord. And my this life and next life, whatever I have and my karma, at your lotus feet, O my Lord. And in the end, Janaka Janani Daita Tanaya Prabhu Gurupati Tuhu Sarvamaya. You are my father, you are my mother, whatever relationships I have, whatever emotional attachment I have, it's all surrendered at your lotus feet. So in this way, the Jnanis, the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, they tried to go against the flow of the material nature. And the Karmis, they go with the flow, but the Bhaktas actually sit in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And apparently to outside people, they are going in the flow of material life. But when a materialist is going in the flow, he is going to fall. He is going to also witness the waterfall, and a devotee also witnesses the waterfall of death. But at the juncture of the waterfall, Krishna is having a Golok Airlines, the helicopter. And Krishna picks up at that time, and we are flying. So the materialist also faces the waterfall of death, and a devotee also, because he's going in the flow. The impersonalists, the Jnanis, the Mayavadis, they want to go against the flow because their goal of life is that I should get rid of, go above death, mukti. But the devotees, they just want to be with Krishna. They just want to please Krishna. And so they go with the flow and they meet death. But at the time of death, Krishna is waiting in the airlines, and directly from the boat of Krishna consciousness, of the association of Vaishnavas, of the Dasosmi family, Krishna is going to lift us up to the association of Vaishnavas in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And slowly, slowly, slowly we pray and pray for each other, that one by one we get just lifted like this, and at the end we create a wonderful Sangha in Vrindavan Dham. We serve Shri Shri Radharaman in Vrindavan. Yes, Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. So, anyone else? Or I think we should stop. Vancha kalpataru vesha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्ण।